Good morning everyone, it's Ian from DIY Home and Gardening. Well, we find ourselves at the start of October and guess what? It's still raining. It's been raining for about a fortnight now. No sign of any real let up. But yeah, jobs have got to be done. So today I'm just biting the bullet, getting in the garden. I need to lift the Gladioli. So thought I'd do a quick video just to show you kind of how I do it, why I do it. I know there's other people got videos of similar things, but hey, why not? Let's go for it. So yeah, I'll flick the camera around and get going. So the idea was, this was to be my cut flower area. Obviously we've had a bit of a funny one this year with lockdown and the weather and everything, but the Gladiolis have done nicely. You can see there's seed form in there, not that I'm going to save it, but anyhow, now the Gladiolis have finished flowering. You can see they're starting to go yellow in the foliage, which is a sign they're going into, well, they're wanting to go into dormancy period. Here in Essex or in the UK, to be honest, most of the time it's too wet to leave them in the garden all year round, certainly over the winter. And I found myself that actually if I leave them in the ground, 9 times out of 10 either the squirrel or the mice tend to eat some of the corm, and then slugs and snails do plenty of damage as well. So anyway, what I tend to do is lift them, store them over winter, and then plant them again in the spring. Bit of a time consuming way, but it means that you're saving the bulbs. You can actually check them over, and in my case I'm thinking that actually I'm going to turn this area to something different, so I don't really want them to be back here next year anyhow. So yeah, now to start lifting. Right, so when you're coming to lift your gladioli, it's always tempting with bulbs to aim to start digging around the crown, but actually bulbs do multiply quite rapidly, so you don't want to damage the bulbs on the newly formed bulbs by digging too close. What I tend to use is a fork, and then start a few inches away. That way you can just get the fork down. You can gently lever underneath. You see that? So it just allows the bulbs to come up without too much pressure on, which can cause the bulbs to break or snap. And then just tease it out. Now, I don't know if you notice that, but that's came up at the same time. That's another little cormlet or bulblet. So here we are, that's what we got. So that is the new bulb that will be the one for planting for next year. If I just lay it down for you. So this section right at the bottom there, the old gnarled looking bit, that is your original bulb, or the original corm that you started with, that was planted in the spring. And then this one here is what has formed on top to act as the store for producing all the growth and the flower. And then these around the side here are the new cormlets, so they will be essentially your new free plants that you get. So it'll take another couple of years really for these to grow on and reach a flowering size, but you know, what I tend to do is you can put some of those aside and plant those somewhere in the garden, almost forget about them until they reach maturity for flowering, and then choose what to do with them, or put them in a pot and forget about them. But either way, that's free plants there. So next thing is to lift the rest, and then I'll show you the next part. There you are, last of them dug up. I wouldn't say I'm out of breath, but yeah, haven't done some decent digging for a while. So here we are. That's all of the bulbs, or keep saying bulbs because everyone always says bulbs, but corms, that's all the corms lifted. So now for the next stage. Well, that's better. So we're in the shed now. Take a little bit of cover from the weather so I can show you the next bit. Essentially the only tools you need are, well, your eyes, secateurs, that's it. Oh, and one of these as well. Cup of tea, help warm up. Oh, lovely. Right, let's show you the next bit. So as I was saying, we've got all the gladioli lifted now. You can see, got the whole length. Makes a change actually, not to snap any, but to be honest, the section I was digging, that's been well worked anyway, as I wanted it from a cut flower. So let's have a basic recap. Flowering stem for this season. This is this year's corm. The discoloured piece there is last year's corm, and we've got the root that came out of last year's corm. Okay, the last year's bit of corm plus root is the bit that won't be staying, but you can't take it off now. You've got to wait for the actual plant to dry out, or the corm to dry out. If you try and take it off now, you're just going to snap it all out and make a right mess and probably sacrifice the corm. But I'll try and show you on a slightly larger one in a bit. So secateurs, make sure as always they're clean, sharp, and we're looking really just to cut about 2 to 2.5 inches up the stem. So what's that, 6 to 8 centimeters. Cut this old bit, discard, do not need that, and this is what we're left with. Okay, so at this stage we're not worried about any of the roots or anything, and you just want to place it ideally upside down. If you can't get it totally upside down, and on the side will do, but you're just wanting to allow all the moisture to drain away out of this stem, off the corm itself, so that they will dry nicely and enable you to do the next bit, which is the storing the bulb essentially, or storing the corm. So I tend to just leave these corms for a week or so, let them dry off a bit. In a week's time, come back to them, shake off some of the excess soil. The more soil and moisture you can get away from the corm itself, the better. And you just want to get down, so probably in a fortnight's time total, where you're then able to separate this old part from the new corm that you want to keep. So we shall repeat the stage with all of those. So that's that pile done. They're all transferred here. Obviously you got a few cormlets that have dropped off, but in the main we've managed to keep everything intact. So I'll just stick those in the tub. Depends how bothered you are by keeping it all, but you know, they'll be handy. So that's all the waste, and I thought I'd pick this one out just to show you. So again, we'll talk it through. That was the flowering stem. This is the corm for next year. This shriveled up bit with the root on is this year's piece that you planted. So just and try and pull it off for you. So really, like I say, you want to do this a couple of weeks time once it's actually dried, because otherwise, see, you don't end up taking it off cleanly. Just use my foot to finish up. So once they're dried and separated, that's what you'd be left with. So I'll pop that in there, and this bit would be your discard piece. So that's the old corm, that's of no value now, so chuck it. Job done. So for the moment, that is first stage of the gladioli lifting. Okay then, so here we are, back again. I've had a little while now for the gladiolis to dry out. I brought them indoors as it's pretty cold out there, and to be honest, I've just got back from work, so yeah, it's going quite dark as well. Yeah, basically the gladiolis have now dried out enough to start cleaning them up. Here's one I prepared earlier, more or less. So essentially what we'll be doing is going through. You obviously want to pick off any of these small cormlets first. So I'll get a shot of those. Well, I sort of rub them off. Or pick them off, however you want to do, and just pop them into the box there. Now obviously you want to try and remove the soil as well. So it's often easier just to give the whole corm a brush down, and then you're removing the soil, and then we're left with that. Use your thumb and just lever out the old corm. Leaves you the new one. Slight clean up. That is another one done. So we'll work our way through and clean up all the corms so they look like that. So going from that lot to that, and then once they're all like that, and then do the next stage. Right, so what we've got left now after clean up is nice, plump, fresh corms. So that is this year's worth of growth and the corm. And then we got this pile here that is all the old corm. Now you can see, so that's the old corm. You've still got odd remains of cormlets or bulblets, those, but there's still a few in there, but to be honest, they're so small it's not really worth bothering with. And then I'll save that little lot there, which they're a better size, they'll be more viable, and all I'll do with those, I'll just stick them in a pot somewhere and forget about them for a bit. So back to these, as you can see, you're left with the nice corm, nice stem. I mean, it's a lovely colour, and then you just need to cut the stem down. So that's what we'll do next. Set up. You can see that the original section that was about 3 inches long, all I tend to do is just cut them down. So 3 inches, which was like 10 centimetres. Cut them down just to leave you with something that's about 1 centimetre long. And got my bucket for my fertiliser box, put some newspaper in, just to help absorb the moisture, and then all I do, I still store them upside down, store them in there, do the same with all of those, stick them in, and then I cover over. As you can see, that's the first layer done. Yeah, most of them either upside down or on their side, so that's fine by me. And then just fold down the paper. Put another layer in. And then exactly the same with the next layer. And again, the reason using the newspaper, last one, It's just going to help absorb any moisture that's still within the stem of the bulb, and well, help absorb any excess moisture that's going to be within the air that's in that container, and also it's going to help provide a little bit of insulation. So just cover that down, pop the lid on, it says. Now, done. So that's my gladioli all locked away, and then I'm just going to put those into a frost-free position for the winter until we get back round to sort of March again of next year. So that's it. That's the end of the video on how to lift and store your gladioli corms, bulbs, whatever you want to call them. Hope you found it of interest. Please subscribe if you did. Send me any messages that you want to, and keep enjoying your gardening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.